Good morning, everyone. As a follow-up to yesterday's presentation, anybody believe they can draw in the room? Nobody converted. Yep, that Phil does. Okay. I just want you to know a little fun fact. I tried to convince our panel that we should all share a fun fact that everybody can remember. But some of you in the room that know me pretty well might not be surprised, but I have the very first dollar that I ever earned. And I earned it through an art award, so I can draw. Come on up, panel. I'd like to introduce our panelists. They're going to tell you a little bit about themselves, and they're the previous winners of the Richard Buzun Award. I'm going to ask the panelists, you have their bios in your brochure program, so I'm going to ask them to at least introduce themselves and tell a little bit about what they do for their respective companies. Lorraine?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Lorraine Mott. I'm the project lead for e-commerce for Cooper Krause Heinz, and I handle all the EDI, the IDW, the VMI, any electronic commerce issues that go through.
Samer?
Good morning, everyone. Samer Shehadeh. I'm Cooper Corporate's EDI e-commerce manager, and basically anything related to EDI, B2B, data sync, across all the divisions falls under me.
Jason?
Good morning. I'm Jason Archbold, Board of States Electric. I've been there about 5 years now. Up until now, my role has been with our catalog team and leading the efforts to gather content for our catalogs. My role is moving into business intelligence, which actually started about a month ago.
Jason?
I'm the other Jason. Good morning from Border States, the VP of Operations and Inventory. My responsibilities are for corporate and regional kind of operational execution, driving best practice and new technology to our branch operations, our fleet and facility assets, our centralized inventory and pricing, and I moonlight in e-business on the side, I guess. So.
It sounds like you should have a career in broadcasting, doesn't it? Doesn't you have a great voice? So we're going to start off with our manufacturers first on the Cooper side to start our questioning. And Lorraine, I'm going to ask you, or I'm sorry, Samer, I'm going to ask you, Cooper uses EDI extensively to automate your processes such as your quote to cash process, which is an order process within your SAP system, and also your SPAs, special price allowances. What have you done to bring your non-EDI customers into the e-business fold?
Yeah. So Cooper as a whole is a big promoter of e-commerce, electronic, and I think it's critical for us to first educate our sales team. They're our first line to our customers, and making them aware that, you know, EDI is our first precedence of putting an order through. But I think letting them know that, hey, we accept XML, we accept customer-specific files, any other proprietary files. They're our first line to our customers, and I think just making them aware, and it's critical to the success of our e-commerce program and making sure that they can push that back to our customers.
Okay, great, thank you. As a follow-up, clearly data synchronization is a priority for Cooper, but tell us your biggest obstacle that you had to overcome on your journey.
I think our biggest obstacle is just defining that one common process. All our divisions are unique in their own way, and that's a good thing, but I think being on SAP, leveraging the technologies that SAP has to offer allowed us to kind of streamline and build a good development platform to build that common ground. Now, we may have some requirements at Krause may be a little bit different, or our Busman division may be a little bit unique, but really leveraging that technology as well as getting the executive sponsors buy-in and continue to building upon that.
Great, great. Lorraine, tell us some of the benefits you've experienced from completing these initiatives, and how did this help your company?
One of the greatest benefits that we feel that we achieved in this was that we have one source now to supply our data. So we feed that data once, and yet we are able to push that out to many places. So everyone is getting that same amount of data, that same piece of data that we've supplied from our business system. There's no changes at all. We also found that just listening to our customers in the data that we did provide, that they're much happier, they're much more satisfied, they're able to populate their web and storefronts. And so we feel that we've listened to the voice of our customer and been able to give them that information that they requested. And as far as internal in doing all this and cleaning up our data and such, that we have eliminated a lot of the product and pricing discrepancies that we were experiencing before this. So great benefits.
Great. Well, so what's next on the agenda? What next process are you looking to automate?
Well, we always have a lot of things in the pipeline, that's for sure. A couple of the things that we're looking at is forecast and planning. So one of the transactions at EDI is an 830, and we're hoping to take that information to better supply our MRP process and be able to deliver better to our customers. We're also looking into the mobile applications and seeing how we can better service our field sales team by using that.
Great, great. Jason Archbold, we're going to turn to the distributor side of Border States. Border States' quest for catalog data is legendary. And what prompted these initiatives, and why are they important, and what do you see as the total impact on the industry?
Well, early on, we saw the reaction that our customers gave us to the catalogs we were producing. At first, they were somewhat small, but they grew over time. But as we were able to get more catalogs in front of our customers and the reaction was very positive, it was surprising at first, but yet at the same time too, when we listened to them and listened to the story, it was very evident that they were looking for something that made the process easier. And when we could put their products in front of them, make them more visible, it made it easy for them to know what they were dealing with. It made it easier to identify the part number. I think one story that really kind of brought it home for us is an application engineer telling us he spends most of his day trying to figure out what somebody out in the field is holding in his hand. And with that person now having a catalog, now that person can call in and say, I'm holding part number such and such from manufacturer such and such. And that application engineer is then able to do his job, which is how to fix that. And it's really that demand that has really been driving us, trying to really respond to that need.
That's great. So what's next on the docket for you?
I think on catalog content, it's really about how do we shift from this aggressive build strategy to how do we deploy it differently? How do we package that information for our customers who want to see that in a different light? How do we use the same information internal to our systems? Talk about our inside sales staff and helping them to search material in our ERP system more effectively with the same information. How to use that to match the item to the right application for the customer. Leverage that to upsell, to cross-sell. As overall kind of e-commerce, kind of what's next? How do you link that catalog content to either social media or the mobile infrastructure or the eBusiness piece and build that whole user experience around the whole platform?
That's great. This next question I think is my personal favorite, and certainly I think one that a lot of people in the room want to hear. The ongoing effort to populate the IDW with the said elements and schema attributes is causing manufacturers to ask, how are you using my data to sell your product, and what do you tell them? Jason?
Well, we really have two audiences for that catalog content. We talked about the customers and what the customers are doing to drive that. Our effort now is shifting from trying to build to getting it in front of those customers. We want to make it visible. We want them to see it. But we also are looking for ways to make it more visible internally. So as those customers call in, they have questions, we want to have that information at our own fingertips for everyone and not just a select few. So we're looking for ways to make that more efficient. How do we get this information in front of a broader audience, which is not just our customers, but our internal people? How do we get more information in front of them? How do we get more of the product assets in front of them, which are the installation guide, the MSDS sheets? Because those are the questions that are coming to us, and we're looking for the best ways to answer those. So manufacturers who can help us do that are going to see that content in front of more people.
That's great. And so truly, Jason,
Can
follow.
I just add to that real quick? And I think it still comes back to, I think, the voice of the customer. I mean, that voice kind of started us down the path of catalog content and guides us today still. And we're all here to serve, I think, the same customer in the end customer, and they're asking for it. They want the information on their terms, and we're not going to define that for them. If we have the content, they'll help us understand, I think, how to deploy it and how to use it. And we saw this morning in the presentation that new customer behavior, the new customer buyer, the new expectation they're going to have. How do we prepare for that? And that's about getting the information to the front line where they can see it and make good choices on that information. So
truly Border States is an extension of your manufacturers, and then in the local marketplace, you're the face of the manufacturers you partner with. So don't you want to look as good to them as you would to anyone else that you do business with? How do you you've used EDI, and specifically the EDI Pro guidelines, but how do you use that to automate your processes?
EDI in general seems like kind of an old and simple topic. We've been doing it for a while, but it's still important. And we use a lot of the EDI transactions, obviously like a lot of you do here. And we still have efforts going on today to really look at our whole list of manufacturers, the EDI transaction set, finding the gaps and really driving for deeper supplier integration in those areas. We're finding now as well, not just for our internal ERP system, we're pushing a lot of information that we get from EDI transactions down to our customer as well. We're feeding their internal system with lead time information, ASN information, for example. They want to know for their frontline salespeople or field people, I should say, the same information we traditionally have been passing to them through a CSR. So EDI is now extending down to the customer. We're pushing that information to their system as well. EDI Pro guidelines, you look at any standard like that. If you're going to get an EDI transaction, it helps to automate and obviously reduce the barrier to enter into that transaction, make it easier for all parties involved. So.
Yeah, we're really fortunate in the electrical channel. I think a lot of people that maybe grew up here and never stepped foot outside don't realize having those guidelines and those standards has put the electrical industry ahead of many other related verticals like PVF and plumbing that have no standard numbering system, no EDI guidelines, and you just don't see them being anywhere near as productive as we are in the electrical channel. I'm going to open up to the audience because I have a couple more questions, but I think maybe it would be more interesting if anyone out there has a question. I'll be happy to take the question for the panel. It is the second morning of the last day, I guess, or third morning, or whatever it is, so I know it's a little challenging. Any questions at all out there? Well, if not, then I think what we're going to do is I have a couple more questions, and then maybe we'll wrap up a little bit early. We'll stick with border states, and on this one, I think the question was, how did you get support and gather the resources for some of the initiatives that you've had in the recent years? And how did you decide who would get involved and how would they get involved?
Our early efforts, we were a small two-person team, and really it was just to get it started. But once the customer started reacting, once the catalogs got out and we started to see the value, we knew that we had to continue that effort. From there, we also started developing metrics around what percentage of A items are built, what percentage of B items are built. There were markets that had very strategically oriented products. We started to kind of focus on what percentage of those products were built. And so really once we made our effort more visible, it wasn't just the output of catalogs, but it was also the metrics around our efforts. When we were able to make that visible and we could start showing our progress, it seemed like the support really started to come our way. And that's what helped us sustain that effort. And then over time, when we were able to continue work with our manufacturers, our next focus became, in order to sustain this, we needed to turn to IDW and these other resources to really help us continue on that path.
So as a follow-up, what was the planning process and how did you organize the initiatives, Jason?
I think going back to, we really organized our efforts around those strategic pieces. We all had some common language in terms of how we looked at our products, in terms of A products, B products, especially when we're able to organize our effort around a specific customer, when we look at their products and the percentage of those products that are built, ready, that are online. That's what helped us in our planning process really focus our resources. I said it yesterday, I've said it other times, we don't have enough time in a day to build all of our products, but we have enough time to build the right products. And as long as we can answer that question, are we building the right products, then we're able to keep our planning efforts going forward and sustain our effort.
That's great, thank you. So Cooper, last couple questions here. How did you get support and gather the resources for some of your recent initiatives? Same question. And how did you decide who to get involved and how were they involved?
I'll take that. I think, like I said, it's always critical to have a rigorous governance model, making sure that any project or initiative that comes through goes through our PMO process. And then I think secondly is having that executive sponsor whether it's an executive on the IT side or even on the sales and marketing. A lot of our initiatives are supported by our CMO. I think, like an example of the banding, the SAID initiative, that was a intense initiative for us because we were a little bit behind the game, and for us to really focus and drive that project through and really get all our divisions' data populated in a span of 2 months, having that executive sponsor support it and lead it was critical to our success.
That's great. That's great. Any final questions from the audience at all? All right, well, I want to thank the panelists for your time this morning and congratulate you again on last year's award-winning contributions that you made to the industry and to your own individual organizations.